And if you're not forever changing or trying to listen and grow, then the world's going to pass, right? AI's arrived, new coaching ways, the new ways of college athletics now has changed immensely. And most coaches are saying, I can't do this. I'm out. I'm not fit for this. And you know what? It doesn't fit everybody, but it's never been more of an important time for us, I think, as coaches to show up and be more and learn by unlearning what we need to know.
Welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the coach, Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. And the New York Knicks, our NBA world champs, are one of the 30 teams in the NBA, all using Noah Basketball, as well as 7 of the 8 teams in the Elite 8 in the NC2A tournament. Must sign up. Go to 1-888-879-6624. Every high school, college, and pro team, there is a device for you that Noah. Tell them Coaching You sent you, and they will take great, great care of you. Listen, one of the really, really fun people that we get to spend time with each year, we try to, is my dearest, dearest coaching buddy, Donnie Jones, the head coach of Stetson University, who you will absolutely love. He's one of the best leaders in all of sports, any sport. He knows how to lead young men. He is just people first, but he's an incredible X and O coach. His offenses are just fabulous. He takes teams with less and makes them play so much better. He is a winner. He's a national champion 2 times with the University of Florida with Billy Donovan. Study Donnie Jones. You're going to love this segment. Very heavy on leadership. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And then again, a reminder, Zach and I were just talking. Listen, our videos from our July clinic are out. We have the Shia clinic is going to be out in a couple of weeks. The best stuff, over 600 clinics that you can resource to study, to grow, and get better. So sit back after this quick timeout and enjoy our visit with Donnie Jones, the head coach of Stetson. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Hey, we're back with my dear friend, Donnie Jones, head coach of Stetson University. As a total disclaimer as we start off, Coach, I think it's only appropriate that we tell these people that we have been friends for nearly 30 years. We talk almost every day. And so just when we just decided to record and share with our friends in the basketball world. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Coach. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you every time we talk, every time we get a chance to visit. So thanks for your friendship and mentorship over these years. I'm just
Well,
blessed.
it goes 2 ways when you have that, and I cherish everything that we've learned from each other and stuff, and it's funny, and I think part of that is coaching is a great word, and and leadership is a great word, mentoring. But everyone wants to be a mentor or wants to be mentored. how do you recommend that people first of all, you have to accept that you wanna learn and be mentored, but how do you go about when you work with different people in different fields even? How do you go about that and teaching people nowadays?
Absolutely. And you know what, coach, I learned this from you a long time ago. And you used this comment that related to me so much. And it's kind of, you're always trying to find your coaching identity, right? And play to who you are. And I've had the opportunity to be with some great coaches, a Hall of Fame coach and Billy Donovan and Greg White, different people in your life as you're growing up
Mhm,
and yourself, you get influences from. But I always loved the comment that you had something to say, and it makes sense. I don't coach basketball; I coach people,
mhm,
and that has been so true to my coaching in players and coaching in leadership and connecting in life and relationships. It all relates to that, and I think my focus has always been I've tried to be a connection first leader. Right. I've tried to connect with the individual and get to know these kids and make sure I'm building trust and gaining trust with that before because you got to be competent, obviously, what you want to do to gain trust with people when you're
mhm,
teaching, but you also got to have a trust level with someone where there's a where they feel seen and feel safe with you. And I think that's been something I've really felt comfortable. And I always say I learned this from the great John Maxwell is a lot of people can communicate, but very few can connect. So how do you connect when you build, Joe Kim Noah used to say, hey man, we're winning because we got chemistry. We're different. We win. You can't recruit chemistry. You have to develop chemistry. And it's so powerful. And it's so sorry for a long answer for a short
no.
question, but I've always tried to make it about connection.
You've worked with so many players that have made it to the NBA. Fantastic, and ironically, you as a college point guard, you have so many big men that have made it, to the league, which is so funny, right?
Yep.
But, uh, what do you think and we've had Michael Jordan's son when we had him at UCF, and for
Yep.
Michael to trust you in coaching both of his kids, that's just speaks volumes. Because knowing Michael for 30 plus years, he doesn't trust a lot of people. He is very as we've found out, he's very
Yep.
private, on and off the court, and he wanted you to be his kid's coach because he trusted you. But there's, Yannick Noah wanted Billy and you to coach, Joe Kim and Udonis Haslem, you know, who to me is one of the great NBA warriors of all time, and Jason Williams, White Chocolate to basketball fans. These guys, when I'm around them with you, the reverence is incredible. How did you build up as an assistant coach that trust?
Well, thanks, coach, for those comments. And, it's been incredible, with those guys. They've all had different journeys, different stories. And I think it's come back to, the whole mindset is, we always talk about, you hear servant leadership, and it's just always about serving the player. It's all about the players. We got these jobs because of the players. And I think how do we connect with them? How do we help them? And most importantly, we talk about right now, even with how do we build trust quick in this culture now? It's just so transactional.
Yeah.
And so even with my team just coming out of 8 weeks of the summer, our focus obviously was on becoming a team, but we really focused on the individual still about what's trust look like? How do we build it quick? And how do we understand the importance of empathy and serving our teammates, and how do we add value to each other? And that's kind of just been the mindset of what I've always tried to do with players. From Joe Kim to Jason Williams to the guys I've been fortunate, even with Michael's kids and Marcus and Jeffrey. I think we just really made it about them and made it about the leadership that was involved was just not about ourself. I mean, basketball was what we do. That's the easy part. But I think the trust and the connection behind the door where people can have a safe space where they feel they can connect and grow with you. But there's also a standard, okay, where kindness is not a weakness to where people feel that they can overcome you or get away with stuff. But I think that there become a partnership instead of I'm your boss, I'm your leader, do as I say, trust me because I tell you to trust me. But when that time comes, trust is not given, it's earned. And so many people in this world today, we all are afraid. Everybody's afraid. Everything, you turn on the news, everybody's afraid. You turn on the weather, here comes a hurricane. It's storming today. Everything's about fear. And so,
Mm.
how do we bring that level of connection with them? And that's really what been a focus for me since I've been a young coach.
You know, you mentioned John Maxwell, our mutual friend before, maybe the greatest leadership coach of all time. And, you know, you've known him for years now and actually are certified John Maxwell team leader or whatever, you know, and coached
Yep.
his coach. And when I got to spend some time with John a couple of years ago, you know, I'm sitting there like I'm I feel like I'm going to meet it in person Michael Jordan, right? And I'm like, what do I say to this guy? I'm like, I'm really nervous. And I've coached NBA finals games, you know, been at the Olympics. I mean, all these things. I am so freaking nervous and he walks up to me at the World Marriott in Orlando by Disney, and he goes, "Coach Brendan Suhr, I cannot believe I'm getting a chance to meet you, a world champion. You're one of the greatest coaches of all time. I have 60,000 coaches, but you probably had the best team ever." I don't even know what the hell to say to the guy, and he's, like, putting me up on a pedestal. And I mean, I didn't, but what he made me feel is he just understood the right words to say to people to get them. And Donnie, how does he always open up every talk he gives? It's my favorite opening of all time.
Hello, I'm John. I'm your friend. That's his first words always.
Always. And
That's
it's not dynamic. It's just said in a very comforting tone, as you just did. And you know
mhm,
what? You're relaxed. And now I'm ready to learn.
absolutely. And he's letting you
And
know,
can we use
regardless.
that? Can we use that style in coaching? Don't you think?
Absolutely.
As coaches, I think that should be our style.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, how do we build trust, right? I mean, I think that's something that, it used to be, everybody says it takes a year to really get to know somebody in all scenarios, all situations, in prosperity, adversity, everything that you encounter, you try to figure out how do you trust someone or lose trust. And you can lose it in an instant with one mistake. But I think for us right now, I think vulnerability creates vulnerability. I think listening creates connection. I think sometimes we don't listen enough. Like I spent an hour one on one with my players the other day, and I'm finding 15, 20 minutes a day trying to sit and listen, right? What they feeling, what they thinking, and trying to connect. And sometimes consistency, breeds connection. And with these kids, and I think I'm trying to understand where they are, what they're battling, and also making them feel like, which I feel empathy for, is what they're going through, and how can I help you, and to the point where it's a partnership. So I think sometimes, we use the term, it's all about we, right? We want to take the me and turn it
Right.
into the we, but it really does start with the me. And I think we have to be able to first, everybody wants to know what's in it for them from the start. We recruit individually, where everybody's about their contract, it's about their NIL, it's about what's for, we have to make sure we have that plan and connection for them. And then as we build the trust, we teach them how the we becomes more powerful than just the me. And you're a part of the process, but you will have a reward with the we. So I think that's part we sometimes miss it, that we're just a team. You're going to do as we say. Well, we have to make sure we have that connection first of what that means. I think you got to break that down.
Yeah, so the players that have played for you over nearly 40 years of coaching, you know, I'm not trying to say how old you are. You're young. You know, you started when you were 10 years old coaching, okay? But, you know, I think the big thing for you is to how do you now take your 4 years of developing that relationship, and now you might only have a player for multiple reasons for only a
Yeah.
year, you know? Uh, a freshman might come and be great and then move on, or you might have a transfer portal player that stays for a year, whatever. So how did you have to adapt from someone that developed people with a plan over 4 years to someone that has to make almost immediate impact?
Yeah,
What's your strategy? I
yeah,
really
it's an incredible
that's what I'm
question.
curious about.
Mhm, absolutely, coach, and I think that was a big part this summer. Used to be we'd be 4 weeks in the summer. We went 8, and that's a long time, and I thought that this summer was as powerful as anything, as we spent as much time on the mental as we did the physical. That we really did a lot of teaching, we really did a lot of one-on-one, coaching individually, just not basketball, as a human. We served in the community, we went out and we did a lot of team building. You hear all those things, but we had to do that more because really at the end of the day, it's about the hours you spend together that's shared through shared experience, really getting to know people's story, getting to know about who they are, and just really sometimes having clarity about what things really matter. So we've had to be more detailed, be more impactful, probably a little bit like the NBA does, right? Training camp used to be different. Now it's cut to this. You've got to be better in short periods of
Yeah.
time. I remember you used to say to me, if you need more than 90 minutes to coach your team, you're probably not prepared to you're being very productive. And so it made me rethink that how detailed and how effective and efficient I had to be every time I walked out in front of my team to make them feel like everything we were doing was for a purpose, for execution. And so I've taken the same mentality and tried to turn that into what we're trying to do in developing the overall player as an individual.
Let's talk now about where we're at in the college basketball landscape. Um, Nothing negative about NIL, nothing negative about players getting, compensated or anything like that. That's not the problem. But let's talk about, uh, the reality of everyone in 365 plus teams in Division I basketball, uh, everyone is where they're at. Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12, they're over here. Ivy League are where they are. Uh, everyone has every conference has their niche. Okay,
Hmm.
you're in the ASUN, okay, and your conference is even split up within that this past year, right? You know, with a part of it
That's
going football oriented, et cetera. And so how do you rather than being one of those guys, because I know you're not, that is always bitching and complaining about, "Oh, everything's different, everything's changed." You know, your feet, you have to plant your feet where they are. How do you approach each day knowing that you're not the University of Florida an hour and 15 minutes away?
Mhm, absolutely, and I think that the transformation's been, is we have to, 1, understand where we are, and what we're playing for. Our goal has been to win the ASUN and to have a championship, opportunity to be the best against the people we play against, and usually that's who we're recruiting against. We get an opportunity to play in a non-conference against some of the best. I think that gives us a chance, to measure ourselves. But obviously, the challenge is get to the tournament, and we did 2 years ago and had the great opportunity to play against one of the best teams of all time in UConn, who was great that year and won back-to-back. But the opportunity for us, though, is to make sure we keep that's what leaders are. We see things before they get there. And so how do we keep our people and our players focused on the path, not all the distractions of things we can have that we're not going to get and what we don't have, but what we do have and what is the clarity. And I think that's what great leaders got to be able to do. And no matter what the noise is and all the confusion is, we try to not hide from that. We address that, but obviously we keep the focus on what the focus should be on. And I don't think we can control those things, coach. And I think it's important what we complain about and what our energy is and what our staff talk is and what our administration talk is important to how our players feed off that. And and sometimes us coaches get so caught up in things that aren't fair. Well, guess what? We tell our players it ain't fair most of the time. And so it's not really about what's not fair. It's about what is fair, and let's try to accomplish what we can. It's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, so, unfairly, I know so much about you, or fairly better yet, because I'm better for it. But I
Like,
think you're one of the very best offensive coaches in all of basketball, college or pro. And the things that you do with your talent is at another level. You know how to get your best players shots. You run great stuff. And every coach from the Lenny Akoffs to the Power 4 coaches that you coach against, they all know you really don't wanna play a Donnie Jones team. You really don't wanna play that because whether you're Florida State and Leonard Hamilton and, you go up there and beat them by 15 points, we had our great dear friend of both of ours, Frank Martin, on, and we went up to South Carolina and beat Frank, who's one of the best coaches in the country. Uh, and then you put game plans together. Where did that come from? Where'd you learn that? You know
yeah, I always felt, when I took these jobs, coach, I always felt like we were the underdog, right? It's always when you take over jobs, you're either rebuilding or you're taking over a job that was really good because somebody got a promotion or got a better job. Well, I've always taken over the jobs that were rebuilds.
Yeah.
So we went to Marshall, lost 7 straight in a row. The season did. We walked in the first year. We had a winning season, 124, went to a postseason, right? And you've been a big inspiration. I'm not saying that because you're on here today. You know how I feel about you, but you've been, a huge mentor to me from a mindset standpoint is to be able to maximize your talent. So being able to take what you got, and we haven't been able to choose what we want. At Florida, we kind of got to choose a little bit what we felt fittest and develop it. But here, when you're at the Marshalls and then we go to UCF, we come in after several losing seasons, take them to 3 postseasons. We still had to take what we had. The first year we went 16 in a row, we're top 20 in the country with what we had. And it was taking and putting players and playing to their strengths. And I think that's what we've been doing. I think here at Stetson too. We're always going to have change. And I think we try to recruit a certain profile, but I think as a coach, right, you always got to develop. And I'm always going to change to fit what helps us win. And everybody says, "What's your system?" I said, "One that gives us a chance to win." And whatever our strengths are that year. This year it may be a stronger front court, so we're studying how do we play like Florida, or how do we play,
Right.
like some teams that play 2 posts like we did in 2006 and 7, right? We won it with national championships, but that's kind of been the mentality with it.
And then, defensively, you're playing against some whatever league, we're in, whether we're in, the Big East, American Athletic Conference, or what was the first name of it when we went in with Memphis,
It
UCF
was the
going.
American
Yeah, the
Conference USA, the
Conference
conference that we won
USA.
American.
Yeah,
Yes,
with
sir.
Memphis, and I mean, it was incredible teams there. And
Yeah,
then all of a sudden, after like 2 years or something, then all of a sudden it becomes the Big East for a couple of months, then it becomes the
that's right.
American, but now it's Louisville, Rutgers, Memphis,
Yes.
South Florida. I mean, a really good
UConn.
team. UConn is
Yes.
in there initially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the teams are really, really good, but somehow you game planned offensively and defensively, even though you were a pressing coach at Florida and you
Yep.
also were a man-to-man coach, you would do whatever it took, whether it be to play a zone, whether it be to play a box and 1, a triangle and 2, to help your team win. A lot of coaches I know and have even worked with, they wouldn't play a zone if they had 2 guys left in their team, they just wouldn't do. They just were going they're going down the tubes with whatever defense brought them there. You have that flexibility to say, I'm coaching to do whatever is gonna help our kids." Where did that come from? Was that Billy or was that someone else?
Yeah, and you know what, Coach? That's just been a combination of my thinking. To be honest about it, I just feel that
Sure.
change is about changing momentum, right? So we're not going to have the same talent. How can we confuse and surprise? Right. So the mentality from Billy was a surprise attack, right? From pressing. And then he wouldn't have a problem of switching up at 10 to go and the clock, he'd be in 2-3 zone. So I learned that initial change from him with how he would mix things up and play to the strengths of whatever the moment may be. And so in taking that, and learning to go into zone after two passes, press after makes, back to mid, just constantly changing to force the other team to think about execution and maybe trying to steal some possessions. And when you don't have a team that's talented, to be able to stay in it. But the worst thing in coaching is just not knowing what's coming to prepare your team. And so I know as a coach, it's tough to play against that. And so we try to be able to create confusion for our opponent.
Hey, what trends do you see now in the game, from a defensive standpoint? Let's talk defense before offense.
Hmm.
In the college game, uh, what do you see? Almost every team, almost every one of them is going almost all man to man now. Very
Hmm.
few teams even use zone at all. What do you, are there teams pressing zone, man, switching on what trends do you see that are in the game now, or that you see possibly coming
Hmm. Yeah,
defensively?
I see a lot of switching, a ton of switching now. I think there's been so many more skilled players on the floor. 3-point shooting has become better for almost all teams now. That's been such a huge factor. So for the most part, I see a lot of switching. Late game, you can see much more change sometimes. Now you can see people trying to either blitz ball screens and be aggressive, or sometimes can go to zone late. So I think I've seen that more so in the last couple of years than I have in the earlier part.
Yeah, I know in the NBA they have only 8 seconds to get the ball over the half court
Yep.
line. If that ever came back in, if that ever went to college, then I would think the college coaches would be pressing all the time, you
Sure.
know, to prevent the guy from getting over half court. But with the 24-second shot clock, I see more extended defense in the NBA, uh, and college a little bit. I'm not so sure. But I can remember you and I were on the bench one night against our friend Mick Cronin, who's now the head coach at UCLA, an incredible coach and had a great team at Cincinnati. And we're getting our flat out ass kicked in the
Hmm.
conference tournament. And at halftime, we walked in and you said to me, uh, we're going to go, did we go triangle and two or box and one? I can't remember. Box and one? I think
Both.
we went. I'm trying. Both?
Yeah.
We went both?
Both. Both. Depending on who we
I
put in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, "Coach, that's a good idea, except we've never practiced it." He
Yeah.
said, "Let's try it because we're gonna lose by 20 if we don't." And Mick Cronin is such a good college coach. He is so good,
So good.
and they couldn't make a shot. They couldn't
Uh,
make a shot. And
yeah.
and and next thing you know, it is like a buzzer type of tie game, and he had NBA player on his team and everything, and I just said, it really taught me, how to change the game and and how to shut off a star player. And you did the same thing at Stetson when we were together playing Liberty, the great Rich McKay, one of the best
Yep.
college coaches there is. Uh, and he had what a dynamic point guard. He had
Yes.
that little sucker boy who was so good.
Yep.
And all of a
Terrific.
sudden at halftime, we're down double figures and we put a box and one on him, and that guy didn't take a shot in the second half, and we won the game.
We did. We did. They scored 12 points in the second half. It changed momentum and it forced others to make decisions sometimes. And
Yeah, but we had never practiced that either, coach. Maybe we should
that's
not
correct.
practice defense.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the whole key, but I don't know what it is. But,
But
you
yeah.
know what? The feel you have for the game, I love it because, uh, but when if 90% of the coaches in basketball would suggest to do something that their team hasn't practiced, they get their ass kicked, frankly. But
Yeah.
you made the players believe that this was gonna work, and it did. And I think that's a leadership quality that you have in helping players believe in what you're teaching. And that's maybe the essence of coaching, right? To get them to buy into what, what you believe in, or they believe in you, and then they buy into it. And I think that's a remarkable quality and trait that you have.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, coach. And, I think, it's always is buy-in. As you know, I heard just listening to your great clinic they just had in Vegas. And Jeff Van Gundy opens up saying, hey, coaching is just getting people to do the things they don't want to do that really benefit themselves. And it's so true, right? So coaching
Huh.
is, like you always used to say, taking people to a place they can't get themselves. So how do we do that? Well, it really starts, you got to have confidence on the floor, but you also got to have it off the floor. Still empathy is how you value people. John Maxwell, that's his whole mindset is how we value people. Like he celebrated you. That's easy because he sees greatness in everyone and knowing everybody's story. That's a huge thing. We take time and we learn your story. Who are you? Where you're from? There's a whole another lesson in that, but it's just taking the time for everyone to know what makes Coach Suhr go. What's his superpower? And we all learn that. And when we learn that, we play to the strengths of your superpower. And I think that's what John Maxwell understood. He understood that your greatness. He knew your story. And he also was going to make sure you felt seen when you walk through that door, humbly knowing you're important. And we sometimes are so transactional. We're so confused. We're so in a hurry. We're trying to fix it by bringing in new. That's why people are having a lot of success. It's been based on retention most of the time. Can we retain our best players or the ones who've been, in my mindset, your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth best players? You're going to lose one, two, and three almost at every level. Can we maintain them? And now bring in and fill the gap with the right culture and give yourself a chance to where chemistry and retention can have value in winning those games. And that's what you hope.
Donnie, when you have with our again another dear friend Stan Van Gundy, the former coach of the Magic and great NBA coach and great person, and someone that lives in the area where you live. Uh, Stan being a dear friend of yours and stuff, and one of the things
Mhm.
that Stan I think always kind of preaches, you know, is having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So
Mhm.
many leaders, so many players, so many coaches, they are fixed on what they know, and we know they almost refuse to try to grow and learn. You have
Absolutely.
one of the you have one of the most incredible salacious appetites to grow I've ever been around. And so what do you do for someone like that? What do you do to feed that incredible diet of yours to keep learning every year? And you do it 12 months a year too.
Mhm. Well, I think, Coach, obviously that's why we're so close. You taught me so much when we first met, and we had so many things in common of how we love people, we value people, we want to learn, we want to teach, we want to share, we want to help others. We've had all those common values, and I think George Raveling, who was our dear friend, bless his soul, man, I remember him coming up, and he was coming to UCF, member to see us, and was a good friend of yours for so many years through your travels. And I remember him saying one thing to me, and it was very confusing at first, but so powerful. You have to unlearn sometimes in life to learn. And what we've already been programmed for in learning, and we sometimes make that the standard for everything. Our standards, our values, our choices, those don't change. That's our integrity, that's our character. But to learn and get outside the box, you have to be open to things, right? So that's having perspective of looking at things in a different way. And if you're not forever changing or trying to listen and grow, then the world's going to pass, right? AI's arrived, new coaching ways, the new ways of college athletics now has changed immensely. And most coaches are saying, I can't do this. I'm out. I'm not fit for this. And you know what? It doesn't fit everybody, but adapt and adjust is an incredible feature to have in life. And we have to continue to evolve as human beings, I think, to be able to understand what the world needs or what the culture brings or how to lead. It's never been more of an important time for us, I think, as coaches. to show up and be more and learn by unlearning what we need to know.
I love that phrase. So you're focused, I think, on 2 areas, mainly. Sure, you're focused on your basketball,
Mhm.
and w w our Coaching You Plus app, that you're one of the highest users of it. You know, if I had to give out an
Love
award
it.
to a couple of the college coaches, you and the guy that beat you, Danny Hurley, you guys are some of the biggest users of our app, which is
Mhm.
incredible because that guy is, like, just has that same appetite to learn. And the other
Mhm.
area is leadership and people. Where do you find how to learn as a leader? I know you loved books and things like that.
Mhm.
How does Donnie Jones, and you've taught me this. I used to learn with books, but it's
Mhm.
hard to read books when we're driving and going places and bringing books along with you. George Raveling used to bring a bag full of books when he'd come
Mhm.
visit us, you know, but you're, big on Audible, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely, coach. I got the Audible account. I listen to a lot of books. If it's mowing my grass, if it's sitting in here working out on my workouts, it isn't music. It's a podcast or it's a book. Um, another thing that I've done, I think, obviously, because what happens to us, once we get out of school or we're not around, there's different times in life, that you feel like you're growing people more than sometimes people are growing you. So you got to continue. How do I feed other people? I got to continue to get more content, to get more ways to do stuff, to learn differently. And I did this thing, Lunch and Learn. I learned from John Maxwell, and that's where I used to spend that time with our good friend, General Mark Hartling, right? We spent a lot of time for lunch or coffee and that time, and it was to walk in, and I was prepared for that talk, and so was he, but we both learned from each other. So how do we set up time for people to learn from that we feel can add value to us, and we hope we can add some value to him. I never know what I added value to the lieutenant general, who's got so much credibility, but we've developed a really good friendship because we have a lot of common themes and we value people. Character matters to us, and so does teams, and we care about developing people. And that's where you learn those type of qualities.
And I think, Donnie, one of the things that you and I have found over the time is that some of the people that are so successful that you think people wouldn't even say hello to you, I don't mean
Yes.
you or me, are the biggest people that wanna share and give.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, coach. Absolutely. And all the years I've known you and you're one of the biggest examples of that. You give to everybody coaching and what you've done for this profession. And I always say coaching me, it's not coaching you. You've been coaching me for many, many years. So this is easy for you.
yeah,
But I'm the one that's reaped the benefits from
it's
it
a
the most.
challenge. Your wife has told me it's a huge challenge, okay? It's not as easy as you think, okay? Yeah.
But yeah, humility is key. And you know what great leaders understand? They're able to walk into a room and they can lead. If the president of the United States or the prince of a country is there, he can walk in any audience and sit down and fit in and have the
Yeah,
humility and the confidence to fit. And that's what great leaders can do, how they connect.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we wanna catch up with you as often as we can because you share having gone through this system, eh, as a college player to a GA to, you know, going to Florida and then to becoming the head coach at Marshall and then UCF. And then, as happens in every coach's career, there comes a pause at someone's point, and then you became a scout with the Clippers, and then you got back in college at Wichita State, and then with our dear friend and Frank Martin's dear friend, Anthony Grant at Dayton, who's a superstar human being as well as a coach. And then to come back to the state of Florida, which you love dearly, because you and Michelle wanted to try to raise your kids in Florida, which I don't blame them, for doing. And I just think what you've done, you've always been successful as a coach. That I think is easy for you, but where you've made your impact is in communities, and student bodies at every place you've been, you make an impact, and I think that's you just don't coach the players and the team, you coach everyone in the school from the administrators to professors to everyone there to make the place that you're at better. When we went to UCF, we said people didn't understand that, and all of a sudden, you took that school that's the biggest in the country, and all of a sudden, it went from Conference USA to one of the biggest conferences in the country with great leadership, there, of the president, the board, and stuff like that,
Mhm,
and ADs and all that stuff that shared in the vision that you had and the football coach had there, and I think
mhm,
you really bring people together, and that's a unique quality. It's not just you don't give a shit only about the basketball team, you care about everyone in the program you're with, and that's why you're a great corporate leader too, and that you help everyone get on the same page and work together, which is really hard to do nowadays because we're in a selfish society, as you mentioned earlier, I think.
mhm, but yeah, we are, coach, and I think it's important. A lot of people their best moments when they were a part of a team, growing up as a young kid and being a part of that whatever level you played in sports, if you've been a part of a team in another way, maybe it was a dance team, maybe whatever it may be, you've been a part of a team. And a lot of the time it was those shared experiences that you felt with your brother or your sister or whoever it was. Family becomes family through shared experiences. And sometimes we get lost in that in the race because everything becomes so transactional. But I think it's important for us, though, how do we connect that? How do we make that matter still with what we're doing? And you have to be intentional, right? Intentional
Yeah.
leadership is seeing things for others too and having a plan for it as we do. But I appreciate that, coach, and I think that's been important. And all the people we've been, like Dr. Richard Lapchek, a good friend of ours, all those people that were such community leaders have been great mentors to us in different places that we've stopped that have also helped into giving us perspective of how to be more than, like you always say, I like impacting 15 or 20 people. I'd love to impact 1 million people. How many people do we get to touch with this gift we got to have the ability to be able to impact people and obviously we try to do that every day. We've had community leaders and people just evolve as great human beings, and that's the beauty of this position.
Well, you're doing that today by impacting coaches in over 100 countries and all over the world because they get a chance to hear from a real coach, but more importantly, one of the great people that's in coaching. And I thank you for being a dear friend and who you are every single day. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Coach. Love you and appreciate you, and thank you for all you've done for me.
I'll take care of Michelle. Take care of my three dear nephews and niece. They're the best. And I can't wait to see you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.